Miniature Market has thousands of board games at discounted prices. Click the direct link below to see all of those discounted games. Hello my friends, I'm just back from Gencon, and today we are going to be going around and going to conventions and drafting and getting all sorts of ways to go find our favorite comics. We're going to be putting them together in collections, trying to have the most points. Today we're taking a look at Comic Hunters. This is from Spinmaster, but also Arcane Wonders, and it is the latest Dice Tower Essentials game. Let me show you how it's played, and I'll see you on the other side. Now in this game, there are tons of cards, and these cards are each going to be comic books that you're going to be collecting. They're going to show the hero, like Captain America or Spiderman or the Avengers, sometimes many heroes there. And they're going to be worth or costing a certain amount of money that you're going to be using to build your collection over time. Now here is the board for the game. Now the game is played over 3 main rounds, and through those rounds you're going to be using different methods to acquire your comics. But then at the end of the game, you're going to be trying to make collections. Now, this can be somewhat randomized, or there's a starting set like this, like the Black Panther is going to be the most valuable, these 3 are the next 3 valuable, and these ones are the least valuable. And what this means is that if you have a collection that's the size of 3 or 4 with the Black Panther, it's going to be worth 6 points. And the more of those you have in one collection, the more points you're going to get. And depending on the tier, those are the collections and one of the main ways of getting points in the game. However, you're also going to have varied collections. So any collection that you have that has at least 3 cards in it is considered a collection. So if you have 3 different collections that have at least 3 of the same hero in there, it's going to be 5 points. But if you get like 6 of them, it's 20 points. So you also can vary your collections as well. Now you're also going to have highlights. Now this is sort of going to be tracks you're trying to be the first on. And there's different aspects like number 1. You're going to see number 1 in cards. Like this is going to not only have Spider-Man, but it's going to be the number 1 of Spider-Man. And so as you get these as part of your collections, you're going to be moving up how many of the times you have that in your collection. Or maybe it's going to be versus, like big battles, and you'll move up the versus track. Or maybe you'll move up the first, like this, like the first time you see somebody, right? And you go up this track as well. And there's other tracks that you don't use each game. Like this one is a new look, for example. So those are icons that you're collecting as well. And again, wherever you are on this track, first place, second place, third place, fourth place is the points you'll get. So those are just set collections that you're trying. For example, if I had this at the end of the game, I've got a collection of 4 Spider-Mans. And so Spider-Man, 4 of them, that's 5 points. If I had just gotten a 5th one in there, it would double those points to 10. So those are all the ways you're scoring in the game over the 3 rounds. Now again, each of those 3 main rounds of the game, you're going to be adding to your collection. Let's say these are all the cards I had in my hand at the end of the round. I'm starting to put together the collections that I want to collect. So I'm going to put 3 Thors and 2 of the Black Widows. But these are going to cost something. These are all sort of singletons, right? I couldn't even create a collection of these right now because you don't have at least 2 of them. Even though this is the most, the most rare right now, and that's the one I'd like to get, I can't really start a collection with it. Now these have a cost: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have in my hand to pay for those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. I could just spend all these, put these collections out. That could be the end of the round. But the decisions aren't usually that easy. What if it looked like this? I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but I have 11 I want to do. Well, I can't do that. So what do? Do I take this one out, but then I don't have a collection? Or do I take out the 3rd Thor here that costs a lot of money, right? And then I only have to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could spend these. This card, you can hold up to 2 cards for future rounds. So you're trying to figure out which ones to spend, which ones to set collect now, which ones do you want to work on later, and what are you giving up to get those? That is the crux of the game because you're doing this at the end of all 3 rounds. Now let's say we spent this and this is the collection. Now this is my collection. Next round, I'm going to have that same decision again. I'm going to have new cards that I didn't have last round that you could carry 2 over, but I might have new cards I'm trying to figure out. Well, am I creating new sets? Am I adding them to these? Do I have enough to spend? That is the crux of the game. It's an economic engine trying to figure out how to pay for what and how to make those set collections for points. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the ways that you get these, but again, the game's played over 3 rounds. You're assembling your collection 3 times, but each round, you're going to assemble your collection in 3 different ways, and they sort of change, meaning there's 4 different ways you can assemble your collection. One of these is not used in each of the rounds. So, you have a store where you're drafting cards. You have a flea market where you're possibly adding cards or taking cards, very similar to the game Colorado if you ever played it. You have an auction where you're auctioning things off, or you have a convention where you can slide a card around and take all of the same icon in a row or column. And the cards themselves are different values for those rounds. So in generally speaking, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing one of these types of sort of drafting or ways to gather cards, and then you're going to do set collection like I showed you at the end of the 3rd round. Whoever has the most points based on all the things I talked about wins. And at the end of the game, you're tallying up all those points on a paper pad like this. All right, now before I get to the moment you've been waiting for, I wanted to let you know that Game Toppers upgrades every game you play, and they just launched their 4.5 Kickstarter, which will introduce the new Galactic, Mycroft, and Watson Game Toppers with interchangeable rail inlays, as well as new game mats, miniature gaming terrain packs, leg kit options, dining covers, accessories, and amazing package deals. Search for Game Toppers on Kickstarter or go to GameToppersLLC.com. All right, so first I want to say that this is not really a full review. It's basically a first impressions video because I have played this game once at Gencon, a 4-player game. So let me show you what my initial impressions are of this. Now, first of all, it's fun to look at all the comics, right? All the original art's there. It's just, there's lots of them. It's really cool. Now, personally, I'm not really into comics. I know that many gamers are super into it, so most people will love this theme more than I. I quite honestly didn't really care about the theme, but I really like the game, which is interesting. If I had a choice, I would love to see this game rethemed as baseball cards. You got lefty versus righty, you got hitter versus pitcher, you got American League, National League, all these different little ways that you could do the collections and such. It would have been great. I would love to see this rethemed as baseball cards. Please do it, Spinmasters, please, please, please. I like that there's different ways to acquire the comics, you know? It kind of feels like Isle of Skye or Cartographers, where like certain ways of, in this case, not scoring, which is how this was used in the past, but different ways of getting things and drafting things. So you have a normal card draft. You have the Colorado style draft, which is Colorado's a great game. If you've never played it, it was like a smaller version of Zularedo, which was a Spiel des Jahres, I think, winner, or at least a nominee one year. Great way to sort of draft cards like Colorado. There's also an auction-based way, and then you have the convention, the slide puzzle. So I like that there's different ways to acquire the comics. They're all sort of like little mini games to get the cards. That makes sense. I like that there's different ways of doing that, and that you're not doing every round, and the different ones have different level cards that you're doing it with. But the crux of this game, the reason why this game is so good, and the best part about this game, is the tough economic decisions with the set collection. You know you're trying to get collections of certain heroes, right? And you know that some of them are worth more than others at each game. But you're also trying to get varied collections, get at least 3 cards of a bunch of sets. But you're also trying to get different highlights, whether it's the first printing or the first, the number 1 of all of them, or the first appearance, or the new look, or the stuff like that. And those change each game as well. And you're trying to get them. And as you're doing that, it's crunchy. It is like, wow, there's a lot of thought. You're like, oh, I want to get these down, but if I do that, I won't have enough money. So which one do I not do? Which one can I hold over to the next round? Ooh, I could afford all these and get this here, but I'm really giving up this one, which is going to start my set or help my set on this next time, then I can afford it. The game, sure, the drafting aspect, there's a lot of thought is going into what you're drafting and why you're drafting, but even once you get the cards, even if you get all the cards you think you wanted, it's really tough to figure out, okay, now how am I going to make this work from an economic standpoint? So when you're drafting the cards, you're not just thinking of the sets, you're thinking about money and how can I use this? Because this card's either going to be $3 or it's going to cost me $3. I love that. Very simple mechanisms, but that is the best part of the game. It really makes you think hard. I like the randomized values of the comics, of the different heroes it's set up, and the highlights. Those are going to change every game. I like that you're sometimes pivoting to different highlights, right? Because at the end of each round, you can see where everyone's at. You're like, I was working on the number 1 issue, but I'm in last place by pretty far, so I'm just going to pivot away and stop collecting them. I'm going to work on something else I can get first place on. Or you might be towards the end and like, hey, if I get 1 more, I'll be from 4th to 3rd. That'll give me this many points, but if I go this other one from 2nd to 1st, that'll get me this many points. And you're constantly thinking about eking out extra points as to what you're trying to collect, especially during the last round or in between the 2nd and 3rd rounds. It really has a lot of thinking, more than you would think for a mass market game. More on that a little bit later. I like that you're trying to do the varied collections, trying to be diverse, trying to get some of those out, another way to score. And I really love the flexibility of being able to keep some cards at the end of the round. That really gives you some extra decisions to make and things for longer planning. And I can't pay for this now, but don't want to spend it, so I'll hold it to next round, give myself more decisions. Really good. Lots of good stuff here. I was told from my friends Greg and Brett, who you've seen on the channel before, how much they loved this game. They played like an early Brazilian copy, and they've been telling me about this game for years. We almost tried to play it at Dice Tower West, but they didn't have the English rules out at the time, or we couldn't figure it out. So I'm glad I finally got a chance to play this, and it wasn't even with them. It was great. In fact, I did get a chance to play this with some friends. Rob Searing from Insert Here. I'm not sure if you know him, but you may. If you like to have custom inserts in your games, you can check out inserthere.me. And also Father Kent and Father Andrew are close friends of Robert's, but I've become friends with them playing games within Gencon over the last few years, so we got a chance to play this at the 4-player count. On the negative side of things, the components, other than low quality. But I will say, like the tokens, mainly the tokens, horrible quality. However, very consistent with a game that only costs $25. There is a lot of game in this box for MSRP of $25. And I'm really happy that they obviously had to put the money into something. They put it into the art and the IP and what they had to pay to license that. But the cards themselves, now don't get me wrong, these aren't like super duper linen finish card quality, but I've played $25 games where the cards feel less than half of thickness of this, where they're really flimsy in your hand. These cards were not flimsy. So for a $25 game, you're getting all this licensed art, and you're getting cards that are good quality, not the best, but good quality. They put their money in that, so I'm going to give it a pass on the rest of the components. If I had to choose what to spend money on, I think they did the right thing there. Second thing is, this is a mass market game. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. In fact, they had a release at the same time as Gen Con at Barnes & Noble. So if you didn't go to Gen Con, you're not at Gen Con right now, on the day that this launches, you can go to Barnes & Noble and pick this up, which is great. But this is a mass market game because it's in Barnes & Noble. I think the level of thinkiness and crunchiness of the economics of it's really tough decisions, I think it might be a little too thinky and a little bit too much upkeep of how to run the different things and which cards go to this deck and then what happens to these over here, this goes into that auction deck, all this sort of stuff. There's a little bit more upkeep, I think, and it might be too thinky for mass market people that just wander into Barnes & Noble and go, oh cool, let's collect comics. I don't play board games other than Uno or Monopoly. I think it might be a little much for them, but gamers are going to love it, and if you can have someone teach you the game that knows it, it's going to be great. On the other negative side of things, the varied collections, it's weird because I know you need 2 to be able to make a collection, but 3 is how you score it, at least 3 of them. And the icon on the board shows 2. I don't know why. They should have maybe put 3, even though you can play 2, but it's showing you the scoring there. That could have been a bit better. Also, there's a couple places in the rules that things weren't clear, where it talked about like the rules for the last person on the auction and started talking about points for cards, and you only spend the points, you don't spend the normal thing. It was like the rules could have had another look over. There were a couple of spots where things weren't very clear. We had to look at Board Game Geek. We ended up getting it right, but those are the negative things. Overall, really good game. If you like comics, you're gonna love it. If you're a non-gamer, you'll like it if you can get some help, maybe from a gamer if you don't play a lot of games. But this is the type of game where somebody who knows what they're doing and is a gamer can take it, and you and your game group will love it. I mean, it's got great set collection, things like that. But also, it's teachable to non-gamers as long as you're the one doing all the running and the minutia and the upkeep and stuff, which is great. You can open it up to more people. Overall, excellent game. I think it lived up to the hype that my friends told me all about, and that's Comic Hunters.